Understanding messenger RNA COVID-19 vaccines. What you need to know. Messenger RNA vaccines are a new type of vaccine to protect against infectious diseases. Messenger RNA vaccines teach our cells how to make a protein, or even just a piece of a protein, that triggers an immune response inside our bodies. The benefit of messenger RNA vaccines, like all vaccines, is those vaccinated gain protection without ever having to risk the serious consequences of getting sick with COVID-19. Messenger RNA vaccines, also called mRNA vaccines, are some of the first COVID-19 vaccines authorized for use in the United States. New approach to vaccines. Messenger RNA vaccines are a new type of vaccine to protect against infectious diseases. To trigger an immune response, many vaccines put a weakened or inactivated germ into our bodies. Not messenger RNA vaccines. Instead, they teach our cells how to make a protein, or even just a piece of a protein, that triggers an immune response inside our bodies. That immune response, which produces antibodies, is what protects us from getting infected if the real virus enters our bodies. A closer look at how COVID-19 messenger RNA vaccines work. COVID-19 messenger RNA vaccines give instructions for our cells to make a harmless piece of what is called the spike protein. The spike protein is found on the surface of the virus that causes COVID-19. First, COVID-19 messenger RNA vaccines are given in the upper arm muscle. Once the instructions or messenger RNA are inside the immune cells, the cells use them to make the protein piece. After the protein piece is made, the cell breaks down the instructions and gets rid of them. Next, the cell displays the protein piece on its surface. Our immune systems recognize that the protein doesn't belong there and begin building an immune response and making antibodies, like what happens in natural infection against COVID-19. At the end of the process, our bodies have learned how to protect against future infection. The benefit of messenger RNA vaccines, like all vaccines, is those vaccinated gain this protection without ever having to risk the serious consequences of getting sick with COVID-19. Facts about COVID-19 messenger RNA viruses. They cannot give someone COVID-19. Messenger RNA vaccines do not use the live virus that causes COVID-19. They do not affect or interact with our DNA in any way. Messenger RNA never enters the nucleus of the cell, which is where our DNA genetic material is kept. The cell breaks down and gets rid of the messenger RNA soon after it is finished using the instructions. COVID-19 messenger RNA vaccines will be rigorously evaluated for safety. Messenger RNA vaccines are safe and effective. Messenger RNA vaccines have been held to the same rigorous safety and effectiveness standards as all other types of vaccines in the United States. The only COVID-19 vaccines that the Food and Drug Administration will make available for use in the United States are those that meet these standards. Messenger RNA vaccines are new, but not unknown. Researchers have been studying and working with messenger RNA vaccines for decades. Interest has grown in these vaccines because they can be developed in a laboratory using readily available materials. This means the process can be standardized and scaled up, making vaccine development faster than traditional methods of making vaccines. Messenger RNA vaccines have been studied before for flu, Zika, rabies, and cytomegalovirus, or CMV. As soon as the necessary information about the virus that causes COVID-19 was available, scientists began designing the messenger RNA instructions for cells to build the unique spike protein into an messenger RNA vaccine. Future messenger RNA vaccine technology may allow for one vaccine to provide protection for multiple diseases, thus decreasing the number of shots needed for protection against common vaccine preventable diseases. Beyond vaccines, cancer research has used messenger RNA to trigger the immune response to target specific cancer cells. Learn more about getting your vaccine. Understanding viral vector COVID-19 vaccines. What you need to know. Viral vector vaccines use a modified version of a different virus, the vector, to deliver important instructions to our cells. The benefit of viral vector vaccines, like all vaccines, is those vaccinated gain protection without ever having to risk the serious consequences of getting sick with COVID-19. Viral vector vaccines are among the COVID-19 vaccines authorized for use in the United States. Viral vector vaccines use a modified version of a different virus, the vector, to deliver important instructions to our cells. First, the vector, not the virus that causes COVID-19, but a different harmless virus, will enter a cell in our body and then use the cell's machinery to produce a harmless piece of the virus that causes COVID-19. This piece is known as a spike protein, and it is only found on the surface of the virus that causes COVID-19. Next, the cell displays the spike protein on its surface, and our immune systems recognize it doesn't belong there. This triggers our immune system to begin producing antibodies and activating other immune cells to fight off what it thinks is an infection. At the end of the process, our bodies have learned how to protect us against future infection with the virus that causes COVID-19. The benefit is that we get this protection from a vaccine without ever having to risk the serious consequences of getting sick with COVID-19. Any temporary discomfort experienced after getting the vaccine is a natural part of the process and an indication that the vaccine is working. Facts about COVID-19 viral vector vaccines. They cannot give someone COVID-19 or other infections. Viral vectors cannot cause infection with COVID-19 or with the virus used as the vaccine vector. They do not affect or interact with our DNA in any way. The genetic material delivered by the viral vector does not integrate into the person's DNA. Scientists began creating viral vectors in the 1970s. Besides being used in vaccines, viral vectors have also been studied for gene therapy, to treat cancer, and for molecular biology research. For decades, hundreds of scientific studies of viral vector vaccines have been done and published around the world. Some vaccines recently used for Ebola outbreaks have used viral vector technology, and a number of studies have focused on viral vector vaccines against other infectious diseases such as Zika, flu, and HIV.